Are you relocating to Washington DC? Yay! So exciting! Well, there's 5 steps that I have figured out that can hopefully help your move and relocation here a little bit easier. In the past few months, I've had many people like yourself who have found my channel and who have contacted me about relocating here, and they have questions. Yes, they do. Of course they do, right? Moving to a new city and a new area is always going to result in having tons and tons of questions. But what's happened is I've had meetings with many of these people. I've shown them places. We've talked about different things in the area and what the different areas offer. And so I think that we kind of have this sort of narrowed down a little bit into a little bit more of a process that can hopefully help benefit you and help you with the hurdles that you are trying to jump when you're making plans to move to the area. If you stick around till the end, I've actually written a relocation guide, especially for people like you who are moving to the area and who are looking for all of the information kind of in one place. So I am Melissa Terzis, DC Real Estate Mama. This is my channel, Living in DC. I talk about all things metro area. If that's what you're into, or you're moving here, or you're living here and you're interested in more, go ahead and subscribe. We're gonna put the little notification, I don't know which slide it comes on, but we're gonna put the little notification. You can subscribe right there. And we're also gonna put my contact info here so that you've got it in case you've got any questions or anything that you wanna sort of chat about, and I'll also have it at the end. Okay, so let's get into the 5 steps that I have come up with that hopefully will help you kind of figure out a little bit more what you're looking for in the DC area and where to move. So number 1 is learn the options. The entire DC metro area is comprised of the District of Columbia, which is not a state, and then also 2 states that you have, which are Maryland and Virginia. And each area offers all different things when it comes to lifestyle and commute times and all of that stuff. So you've got to kind of have at least a general idea of what each state offers, what it can offer you and your family. If you know you've got more people moving here, it's not just you, solo person, and you've got to take all of this into consideration, right? So the crime, the commute, the schools, the green space, all of that stuff's going to be different no matter where you choose to live. So at least you want to sort of wrap your brain around the idea that there are different areas and that different areas do appeal to different people, sometimes depending on where they're moving from, sometimes depending on what kind of lifestyle they're looking for in their next home. So I have videos that actually cover all of these topics in more detail. We do talk about schools on this channel. I do talk about crime on this channel. I know real estate agents are supposed to dive too deep into that stuff because it can be subjective, but I do have videos on that. So check those out. If you need specific links to them, I'm happy to send them to you. They are on the channel in the playlists about neighborhoods and things like that. All right, so number 2, you want to prioritize your must-have list for your new home. This is kind of the hardest part, but you know, duh, Melissa, it's like, this is what I'm exactly trying to do. So yeah, you've got to get this list tightened up because, as I said, the different areas offer so much different stuff that it's like, you know, we've got to focus and figure out what part of the DC area to search. I know people have come to me and they've said like, hey, can you show me around? This is not a show me around kind of area. This is a huge metro area that would take weeks for us to, you know, sit down and kind of show you the areas. So what we want to do is come up with your more like fine-tuned list here of what exactly you're looking for in your next home to include all of these things. As an example, I've met with several people who are moving from New York City. They all sort of unanimously hate the rat race, and they were like, we want green space. We're tired of the crime in New York, but we also want walkability and we want conveniences and we want things like that. And so then we have to fine tune a little bit to say, all right, what's your tolerance level for certain things like noise, crime, commute, things like that. And that can help us narrow it down a little bit more. So these are just things that you need to think about. Decide how important all of that stuff is to you. And this is going to dictate where we focus. So in talking to these people, when they sort of describe what their ideal neighborhood looks like, I hear all this and then I can narrow it down to like 3 or 4 areas. And then I can sort of send them on a path to say, all right, go have lunch in this neighborhood, have dinner in this neighborhood, drive through these areas, and let's see how you feel about them. And then, you know, tomorrow we'll go in and actually look at specific homes so that you can see what the homes offer and what they look like in those neighborhoods that you've decided that you're interested in. One thing people always seem to ask is about taxes. So there's property taxes, there's income taxes, and then there's a special personal property tax that applies in certain areas in the metro area. So these are all things that you need to take into account, and we'll talk about all of this. And like I said, I've got a video that dives very deep into taxes on my channel as well for Maryland. It's Maryland and Virginia taxes is what the video is called. All right, number 3, consider a short-term rental. But Melissa, don't you sell houses? I absolutely do sell houses. Rentals are not really my focus. We have somebody on our team who does handle rentals, but no, rentals are not my focus because I have so many people who are looking to buy. However, the worst thing in the world would be for me to have you move here on my watch, help you buy a place, and then you find out you don't like it. That's awful. That's a horrible feeling. Like the very first condo that I bought outside of Baltimore, the night I moved in, I was like, what have I done? It was awful. And then just waiting out the time where I could actually either break even or make a little bit of money to get out of that place. I never ever want anybody to feel that way, right? Like those were the days though when mortgages were half the price of rent and it made sense to buy, but then I was sort of stuck somewhere that I absolutely hated. So I just don't want this to happen to you. I think you need to get here, you need to rent for 3 to 6 months, just get a short-term rental, get the smallest place possible, closest to work that you can, and then use your nights and weekends to branch out. You know, you'll meet people at work, you may have friends in the area, go to dinner in different neighborhoods, check them out, see what people say, take what people say about their own neighborhood with a grain of salt, because everyone loves to be a defender of their neighborhood. They could live out in West Virginia and they're like, my commute's only 5 minutes. No, it's not. We know you're lying. You just want to make everybody feel like you made this great decision. These are all things that you've got to take into account when you are here, and it's just going to be really hard if you ask a few people in the local office here, hey, where do you think I should live? And they come up with various areas, and then you match that up with what the people are telling you they want, and you're like, I mean, why did they tell you to move to Shotgun City? You just said you hate crime. This is what happens to people, right? So anyway, so yes, so we need to figure out and hone in a little bit more, and a short-term rental is going to help you do that. Now, Melissa, I have all of my stuff. What about my stuff? I've got to get my stuff there. All right, you need to store your stuff. All right, call one of those pod places, put 90% of your household goods into the pod. You don't need family photos. You don't need all of your kitchen stuff. Just pare it down to, however, if there's 2 of you, bring 4 place setting, you're done, right? So you just want to pare this down and make your life easy. Pack everything up. If you're selling a house where you're coming from, this is going to make your realtor very happy because you're going to, quote unquote, it's the decluttering. So you're going to handle that on that side of it. Put everything in storage, and they have these pods. They drive them to your house, you load them up, and then they take the pods somewhere else. You could do one of a couple things. Store that pod locally wherever you are, and then when you're ready to move to the area, have the pod moved as part of your moving process, and then store it somewhere in the DC area. I will tell you, you're fine storing it 2 to 3 hours away from DC. There's going to be a lot more supply of places, and it's not going to be anywhere near as expensive, and you're not going to be needing to get into the storage unit if you pack properly, which is really what I would advise you to do. All right, so the last thing to do is you're going to immerse yourself in the nation's capital when you get here, okay? You want to take advantage of everything, but you also want to learn everything. The traffic is bad. The cost of living is high. We have a lot of tourists here, and that can muck up traffic. Even if it's not tourist, traffic can get mucked up because Maryland drivers are the worst. I'm so sorry, but you are, all of you. I was driving somewhere this morning, and one of them did a U-turn right in front of me and almost smashed into a parked car on the other side of the street. 3 nights ago, a Maryland driver came flying through the alley behind us and totaled her Tesla and my neighbor's brand new limited edition Dodge Charger. 1 o'clock in the morning, the man is out there screaming at this woman. He's like, I waited my whole life for this car, and you just took it away from me inside of 2 weeks. It was awful. His bumper, by the way, is still up at my kids' elementary school because when they towed it, the car fell apart on the tow truck. this is like a whole other story regardless. And this is life in DC. These are the things you've got to figure out, right? So there's more to life here than government. There's tons of free museums. You've got weekend getaways within 2 to 3 hours of DC that when you get here, you're going to love to take advantage of this stuff. And all of this may play into your lifestyle and how you're going to live, right? So I lived in a condo in DuPont Circle in the city really for a lot longer than possible because I had a second house out at the beach in Delaware. I bought it at the time when the market was horrible and I paid like peanuts for this house, and it was just like sitting there begging me to buy it, and it gave me a weekend respite for me, the husband, and the dogs at the time, but this was all pre-kids, and so I was able to tolerate city life. And so you may see this and you may say, you know what, we'd rather have a condo in the city, but then also get a place out at the beach or something like that, or a place up in the mountains, or some people do West Virginia, right? So these are just things that I think are important for people to learn and understand about the area. Like I said, you know, I think a 3 to 6 month rental, probably more like a 6 month, is going to get you enough time with your boots on the ground to figure out exactly what goes on in this area and what you are going to want for your life here. So I hope that my take on how to relocate here was helpful. I've got a relocation guide that I mentioned. I did write it specifically for people who are relocating here. My contact info is going to come after this video, but please email me at melissa@melissaterzis.com. It's going to be up on the screen, and I will be more than happy to send that video to you and chat next steps, relocation to the area, and what might be right for you. Thanks so much for watching. Contact info is next.